our token other male. Here he comes.
You want me to record what you just said, or you want me to wait on get
No,
that
you don't have
part
to.
over?
It's too late. You already started
Yeah,
recording.
I think you missed that part, so that was good.
Yeah, yeah, right. You know, we are harem. You guys got your harem. What can I say? And then Greg's going to be on in a minute. I am so loving this cast. It is a miracle day for me to have everyone. Oh my gosh.
I'll be right back with you. I have to deliver
Okay.
something out the door.
Okay. Well, we're just kind of warming up, although he says he's recording it already. So I guess
Yeah,
we're
we'll
doing more.
cut out the first part.
We can cut.
We'll cut out.
There's Greg with all his women. You guys can share. That's all. You know how that goes. Oh my goodness. So this is where we are. I mean, and all these glorious people that I'll wait until Susan gets here to say much more, but I am just so delighted to see so many people that I have worked with.
Well, wait, let's go ahead and wait till she comes back before you get into the intros, because now we can just say hi. How's everybody doing? Kumba, you feeling better?
A bit better.
Good. You look like you're feeling better. At least you're smiling.
I have this swollen hand and a bit feverish, but it's better than before.
Oh, good.
Okay, good. Everybody's gotten their vaccines?
Yeah, I got round 1. Anybody not?
I got round 1.
I got mine at the end of this month, I hope.
It'd be too late by that time. What's it going to do now that you're in COVID? I mean, give me a break.
Well, it's supposed to go ahead and boost my immunity, even though I have COVID, so that I have greater protection for longer and I don't need the second shot. Supposedly, that's what they said.
Okay, we'll see. You'll be the
which
test
one
case.
are you getting?
I have no idea. I don't know. I booked this appointment, over 4 or 5 weeks ago. And the earliest they were able to give me in New York City was April 25th. And after I booked the appointment, I got COVID-19.
So, yeah.
You'll be the test case.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he's our example. As always, we're going to have to pattern what comes next. We'll watch as Lyle goes through it.
Oh, yeah, thanks. I'm the
Lyle, I don't know what's wrong with you, because COVID is not your friend and nobody's friend.
Nope.
All the appointments you had last year, COVID came and you canceled it. The high level meetings were canceled because of COVID.
Yeah.
And now with your injection, your vaccine, then you had the real COVID. I think
had the real one. Yes.
We need to speak to COVID if we can.
Yeah. You work on that, Kumba.
We'll try. I'll try.
Yeah.
Yvonne will help me, I'm sure.
To work on that.
Yeah.
No COVID, no COVID here. You have to go away. No COVID here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, now we got Susan back, and now we have Lyle gone. So I mean, what is this? A cast of thousands right here. Okay. We're gonna get this thing together. At least you can see each other and see who each other are by the beginning screen. And then when Lyle gets back into his chair, then we'll go ahead and start, because this is the recording of it. We're not going to have an audience until they all get it on the app. So yeah, this makes it really, really effective, because it will be a lot more global by the time we get through with all of this. So in a moment, let's see, we have Georgia. We have Kumba. Where do you live? You're Michigan? No.
Yes, I'm in Michigan.
Georgia, Michigan, California, and Susan, you're back in California now, and Stephanie's in California. So, and Arizona. So we got it kind of spread out through the nation. We don't have any global at this point. Although we are feeling we're global, because all of us are working global. And Stephanie, you're working global too, aren't you? You're muted.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
Yes, and I'm in Nevada, Jackie.
Oh, you're in Nevada. Oh,
yes.
I thought you were in California. Okay, we got that. All right. All the cast is here. So
You want to go to the regular, where you're talking
yeah, we've
mode
all
and
seen
go into
this.
it?
Yeah, you can probably see better if you don't have these. Okay. I welcome all of you today. This is just, any of you know me, you know this is the highlight of my life, is to be able to get the people together. And it's not enough just to get a couple, but when I get an entire screen, oh my gosh, give me a break. I am just jumping up and down. So I will try to control myself. And the reality of all of this is that each and every single one of you are deciding our future. Sounds like a big responsibility, but you know what? It really is. And the sphere of influence that each one of you has conceivably will cover the globe. And with that responsibility and with that influence, and if you really think about all the people that you know and that they know, this is so true. So yeah, it's a responsibility, and yet it is our future. It is definitely our future, and it's the instilling of our future to produce what we want to see in the world, and it's our legacy as well. And so as I came upon the wonderful actions of planned acts of kindness, it began to incorporate all that I had brought together originally for the last several years. And it was amazing when I looked at the whole story to be able to literally bring us into one place, which is what I've been praying for since 2016. It's just that all of you have added as cast in that. Oh, great. Turn that off. That's all I need in the middle of this. Sorry about that. And so as each of you, from whatever discipline you're in, Yvonne, you are obviously doing a lot of things globally. You are doing the financial concept of getting families and women especially either in equality or getting to realize their value and their abundance that they have, and doing it in a financial way all over the world. I highly respect what you're doing with the UN and with others. And Stephanie is safe kids essentially now, as she goes into the neighborhoods and she is making sure the families are talking to all members of the families and making sure everyone is educated in that direction. Kumba, of course, is doing everything global as far as has to do with Africa, whether it has to do with the UN in any aspect, as is Yvonne, but hers is also in specific countries and either a minister in education or women's or whatever, and in health. So she's helping us globally that way. And of course, Dr. Greg is doing everything conceivably possible for the down home great literacy for our children and families in their hands and in the hands of our teachers. So he is in the trenches, so to speak, as well. And then, of course, Dr. Susan is doing many of the same types of things that many of you are doing. Hers is more of a training and educating of the teachers for really getting a curriculum that will support and reinforce the brand new paradigm that we all need to embrace as we go on. And so what we'd like to do is I'm going to introduce Lyle, who's been the instigator. This individual has he's really brought all the chords together. I have never worked with anyone, even though I've worked with each of you separately, and Greg probably closer than most, but I've never had anyone that I have worked with that can pull as many strings and to blend as well as Lyle does, because that's his purpose, is to be able to see the objectives of those that he works with and to be able to bring out the commonalities to how those objectives can be fulfilled. So it is such a joy to bring all of you together under this one umbrella for one planet, one people, realizing the position that you hold in the education of our children and our families. So as Lyle goes through all of the ways that we can work together, consider and take notes, please, as you go along, of programs that might be able to work with what you're doing and how you can blend with that to magnify and to really explode what we can do as a team. So we're going to be talking in questions and a variety of questions, and then we will be answering them as it goes along. So Lyle, I think I've probably given you as much sunshine as I possibly can.
Oh, I need all the sunshine, Jackie, I can get.
Yeah.
Okay. Not only has it been raining for a few days in New York, right, but you know my situation there with COVID-19. So thank you for what you said. Thank you for the kind words. Thank you for the introductions of our tremendous panelists. I know all of you, you know, through the work that you've done, and it is so necessary, you know, for us to go ahead and do what we do in the world. And Planned Acts of Kindness, you know, mission is to really expand what we do to a much larger audience and foster, like Jackie said, that collaboration, because that's how we're going to go ahead and provide quality of life to people on the planet. So today we're going to be talking about education as it applies to social responsibility. That's our topic. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and share different programs that Planned Acts of Kindness has, and you know how they apply to this subject. And then Jackie's going to go ahead and ask you all questions based on your backgrounds and your experience and your connections about how we can move these things forward to provide quality of life. So let's start off with the definition of social responsibility to begin with. It's an ethical theory which individuals are accountable for fulfilling their civic duty, and the actions of the individual must benefit society. In addition, there has to be a balance between economic growth and the welfare of society and the environment. But that's not really going on today. What we're seeing is an increase over the years, a progression of incivility in us versus them, you know, in gun violence, in, you know, all these problems are seem to be escalating, and our educational system doesn't really address them. So the thing is, we need to go ahead and put into the educational system a mechanism that's fully scalable, that's available to people all over the world, that doesn't cost to go ahead and participate, yet it can change that underlying foundation in kids, in people, so it puts the social responsibility and the ethical considerations into people at a very early age, so that that's what they're building on. Hatred, racism, you know, gender intolerance, all of these things, they're not qualities that we're born with. They're not our characteristics that we're born with. They're things that people develop over time because of, you know, what they're exposed to, their environment, because of what they gravitate to, or whatever. So we need to go ahead and have a system in place that counteracts, right, these things, and actually acts as preventative medicine that repels them from taking root. Just like the vaccine, right, with COVID-19. Even if you're exposed to the virus and you have the vaccine, it's not going to take hold. So if we start putting in place in school systems around the world, right, mechanisms like planned acts of kindness and activities that kids can do, right, we can go ahead and have that virus protection so that these kids aren't going to grow up and become intolerant of others, to put it in a nice way. Okay, but there are a lot of other benefits that come out of this as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share screen. And I'm going to go into the first program I'm going to share, which is our equality education. So we're working for equality of life through planned acts of kindness. And to solve the problems of the world, we need to engage and inspire youth of all ages. And there are, in the One Planet, One People movement, it's based on 4 pillars: civility, social responsibility, volunteerism, and global citizenship. And our goal is to teach kindness, diversity, inclusion, responsibility through life and career skills. So what we've developed is a program, Education for Equality of Life, EQL, and this can be introduced in school systems at an early age. So we broke it down, not by class, right, but by age. So no matter where you are in the world, if you're 4 to 8 years old, you can go ahead and through your school have a monthly calendar of planned acts of kindness that you can do with your family, your friends, right? You know, people you go to school with, and even in the community. And literally, it takes 5 minutes out of your time in school. And what does it do? It teaches you civility and kindness. And it gets you to do behaviors where you're exhibiting this and you're really going ahead and giving yourself that foundation that you can build on. And it's based on equality of life for all. It provides health and well-being. It gives you a sense of, you know, what social justice is and gender and racial tolerance. And it can also work to develop collaboration skills on global issues. So as you progress through the years, there are additional programs that come in that you can go ahead and take advantage of through the Equality of Life program. So we're going to get into that in a little bit also. Now, the second path that school systems and well, schools can go ahead and do is adding in the One Planet, One People Club programs. And the objectives of the club are to provide youth with a support program that helps them build quality relationships and a strong sense of community while doing engaging activities that provide quality of life for people, regardless of nationality, race, religion, age, gender, education, or income. And inside the One Planet, One People clubs, that's where the Karma Club is gamified. So there are 4 different achievements that you'll do, and then you get recognition and rewards. We'll get into that later. The youth are also exposed to our books, our workshops, courses, and there are crazy ambitious activity programs that they can have a lot of fun with, but that can show them how they can be an inspiration to literally hundreds of thousands, millions of people around the world because of what they accomplished. And then when they do something that is this significant, we're going to feature them in a book. And we're going to interview them and, you know, share their experiences and what it meant to them to go ahead and do something that really engaged and inspired other people around the world. Through the club program, they also have the opportunity to go into our internship and mentorship program, which we'll get into. Project Hope, our wellness program. Of course, Sirem is something that we'll be doing twice a year. and they can, we're going to start having youth panels in the next go around in Sirem, as well as we expand the program. And of course, everything we do is fully aligned with the 17 Sustainable Development Goals from the United Nations. So our goals for 2021-22 is to have clubs in all countries, in school systems around the world, with tens of millions of people engaged. Before COVID-19 hit, I was talking to the sustainability department in the Department of Education in New York City. And we went through our programs. The program that they were most interested in was bringing the One Planet, One People clubs into the 1,500 schools in New York City. And then of course, COVID-19 hit, right? So, you know, at the same time, we were speaking to the Minister of Education in Beijing, and we were talking about the same thing, bringing the One Planet, One People clubs into the Chinese educational system. So these are things that we can continue to pursue, right? Hopefully the schools will be opening up this, you know, soon, and things will be getting back to some level of normalcy. So this is the Equality of Life program, but I'm going to turn it over to Jackie, and she's going to go ahead and take it from here.
Ask questions, exactly. Question number one, given all the major issues threatening our quality of life, how imperative is it that we start educating youth in the importance of the 4 pillars of One Planet, One People, civility, social responsibility, volunteerism, and global citizenship? How important is that in the scheme of things, the 4 pillars? Who would like to make a comment on that?
And also, let me just add, bringing in education, bringing in the program, you know, equality of life into schools in order to address those things and provide those things for the students. So thank you.
If you'd unmute yourselves, and I'm going to allow you just to go ahead and comment as you wish on what you think about that instead of calling on each one of you. I think that'll be the easiest.
Well, I'll generate the first comment. I think that
Okay.
by far it's a great need, and it's one thing that has been omitted in public education systems for a very long time because there have been other priorities that have taken precedence. And it's not as though we can expect educators, teachers to backfill all of those. I'll put the term social and moral or ethical issues on the forefront to cover up what hasn't been taught in other areas, but it certainly can be infused in the curriculum in very sustainable ways. And I think it's something that takes effort and consciousness and funding, because how do you stimulate that in the very small young people is, you know, to provide a forum, an opportunity, an experience, and that takes resources. And so when education has been consistently
Funded.
Stolen from, or consistently funding has been pulled or reduced or focused on just, you know, your math and science and other things, which are also very important. I don't want to negate that. I think that it's very valuable to reinfuse those kinds of things back into our curriculum. And that is my thought.
Yes, and thank you, Susan. And the thing is that, you know, what we're doing is we're providing really a turnkey system to the schools to address these things. So the teachers don't have to go ahead and add to their workload. We're providing everything. And in the early years, it's really, they get a calendar and it's available, you know, both by, you know, they can just print it out. So they don't have to have internet access every day. They can just refer to the calendar, and then we have step-by-step mechanisms that they can do where the kids kind of like take over And there are things also they can do on weekends and after school and everything else. So it's all provided. And yes, funding is needed to sort of ratchet this up, but also we're going to be working with, corporate sponsors, NGOs. That's where collaboration comes in order to make these things happen. We're not just going to say to the schools, you don't have the money, we're not going to do it. Okay. We want to make it available as widely as possible, regardless of, whether they're paying directly or not. Okay.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And the same type of thing is going with Footsteps. Greg's going through the same. It's almost identical, isn't it, Greg, as to what you want to get into the system? Unmute yourself and just say that concept.
Yeah, a 10-year-old today is 10 times more likely to commit suicide than they are to catch COVID. And we see, I counseled a family last week whose 10-year-old daughter committed suicide. And on the surface, you would think everything was fine, but there was a lack of connectivity and a lack of relevance. And our children are being inundated with what I call trauma drama, undue stress, and what I call COVID stress disorder, or CSD. And so anything that we can do to really bring relevance and connectivity back to our children and parents and educators in the world we live in now, where we are faceless with masks, where we are really walking around in a zombified fashion in this country and around the world now, is going to be critically important. And that's why these types of connective tissue resources are going to be so important to the well-being of all of our communities. And in my role as VP of an organization that is a social justice organization whose purpose is to bring literacy and parent engagement and community outreach into communities, is to be part of that ecosystem. And so the work that's being done and we're discussing here is critically important to the well-being of our children's future generation and education. And the last thing I'll say is that one of the things that I sadly see missing is an acknowledgement until now that these things are real and they're going to be with us for quite a while if we don't do something proactive to engage with those children and families right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Very, very true. And
Well-
what these programs do, and that's what you'll see the common thread, is that they help go ahead and build support systems for youth as well as adults because of the actions that they're taking with other people. And you'll see that when I go through just a little bit about some of the other programs. So the focus, will be at different things. I'll shift the focus depending on what program I'm talking about in order to go ahead and hone in on what needs to be done to go ahead and bring that program right to the world. So absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, Yvonne, you said you wanted to say something.
Yes. I was going to say on those, it's critically important. And I'll say this, as I've said, spoken into several other forums recently, and that is probably the best thing that we have had happen to us in the last 20 years is COVID-19. Because what it has done for us is it has pulled all the covers back. It has dropped all the shields and all the coverings on everything across all industries, across all peoples throughout the world. And so now we've been standing on this precipice for a long time, and we have been sitting in a vacuum and telling ourselves as a whole, as a planet, that everything is okay and everything is all right. And so therefore, all you have to do is just do a little bit more and you'll get yours and you'll get to the top and you'll go up, and not realize that that next step was simply into an abyss. And that's what COVID did. It turned the light on so people could see, oh, wow, I didn't realize we were standing on the edge of the precipice about to fall into the abyss. And that's exactly where we were. And when you want something to change, you go to the future. I'm a futurist. And so my life, I exist in the future. And therefore, I go to the edge of the future and look beyond and see what we need to do and then come back to here in the present and say, okay, this is how we will get to that future. We're going to get to that future with our children, through our children, just as all of us are here today. This future was gotten to, by those, our parents, our grandparents, what have you, our ancestors that came before us. That's how we're sitting here now having this conversation in the future, their future. And so what I would say that we do is, yes, we definitely push that out, into every school. And every school on the face of this planet, we want to, work that. And you have the backing. I have spoken into several forums, and I can tell you that at the high level, as far as corporate, as far as businesses, individuals, accredited investors, they're ready. They're just ready and sitting, and they're saying, please, somebody come by. Yes, we have our monies. Come by, get this money. We want to help. We cannot, you have to understand, and I'm speaking, and I will always speak from a financial standpoint. Financiers do exactly that. They're like athletes. You do not see the athlete. He's not there making dinner for you, at the restaurant. He's doing his athletic stuff. And, he's not the lawyer, he's not the counselor. He's not the institutional, he's the athlete. And that's the same thing with financiers. We finance, but, and so we see what needs to be done, but we need people, like this group here, like this body here, to step forward and say, like Dr. Greg, I was looking at what he sent over. I was so happy to see it. It looks excellent. And I have a program I'm going to put together, and I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. Dr. Greg has already wrote the plan. So,
yeah. Okay. And the thing is, we need to go ahead and move it on. We need to have a little bit of time because we have a lot of questions to get through, but we understand. Thank you.
Yeah,
And the
good points. Excellent points.
Our programs all have, what you're seeing is the social responsibility outreach aspects and the engagement aspects, okay, based on education and action. But with all of our programs, we have a corporate social responsibility sponsorship side to what we do. So the thing is, you have the people which we know, are ready to go ahead and step in when they find the programs. We have the programs. These are the programs. And we're not talking about the business side of this today. Okay. We had that conversation with you, during, other times. But the thing is that all the things that we do are built on collaboration between 5 groups of people. From the grassroots up, you've got to engage students, you've got to engage employees and companies and organizations and government. You've got to engage owners of businesses, founders of, MPO, NGOs. You've got to engage the unemployed, and you've got to engage the retired, just like Kumba's retired from the United Nations, right? And now spending her time as our ambassador to Africa, to the entire continent. So the thing is, we engage all 5 groups of people, and then we work in collaboration with the 5 types of institutions: schools, faith-based, MPO, NGOs around the world, governments, as you'll see, and then also businesses. Because the thing is that if you don't have this collaboration, then we're just using a fractional approach to solve global social issues. And as we're seeing with the pandemic, like Yvonne said, it doesn't work. And it's a wake-up call. But the problem is, right, it's a wake-up call. And just like when the poet laureate spoke at, Biden's inauguration, so many people are just providing words. They're not providing actions. And words alone aren't going to do it. You've got to have scalable, actionable, life-changing behavioral systems that people get recognized and rewarded for doing, that inspire other people to do, because the problems are not going to be solved by governments and individuals alone. They're going to be solved by people working together on common causes with a common focus, which is what we're going to get into next.
Let me just add if it's sorry, line
Sure,
for
go ahead.
cutting you, but hearing from Yvonne, Dr. Greg, Susan, and all, I think we are dealing with building a foundation for something that has to be concrete and sustainable. Education is foundation.
Yes.
The reason why the world is going through all this is because education is missing. And for me, I have always said it, even when I was a student in the 80s, doing my master's, that education is not just literacy, but it gives you the knowledge and skills that make you functional in society. And once you are functional, you are self-reliant. And that takes us to the social responsibility. You take up your social responsibility because you know. And in Africa, I can speak for them. And I know that the literacy rate is very, very low. Why? Because it lacks communication. Education and communication must go. And I have added this, which a lot of people are using, organizations, and even in the UN, that what we need for education is IEC. It's information, education, and communication. Our governance are the problem because there is nothing like good governance. And in the absence of that, because they're not communicating, education is not relevant. And go to many schools in Africa. Even the teachers that teaches, they don't know, they don't have the know-how. They have what we call the teacher training institutes. I'll take Gambia, where I come from. If I tell you the people that graduate from there and teaches the schools, you'll be disappointed. And I'm not ashamed to say it. So social responsibility goes really with knowledge. You have to know. And the next aspect also is civility. It comes from your heart. You have to have the compassion and the love to do it. And that is what makes what I will lead to good governance. I give you a few countries like South Sudan that fought for 40, 50 years. Those kids that were born during the fighting with Northern Sudan are people who are now standing to talk about peace. And people who were not even born at that time, what do they know? The knowledge is lacking. You know the AK-47. That's what you were born with. Jeez. And that's what you use today. So I think if we take education as a foundation, it helps us. We're talking of domestic violence. We're talking of rape. I can tell you just last week, a school child who is 15 years going to school and in the highest level was raped and killed, and the killer killed himself. I can show you documents on that in the Gambia. They're still grieving. The bodies are there, not buried yet. This child is a victim. And without education, without knowledge, definitely, children, youths will always continue to be victims. They go the back way and drown in the sea. They're Africans. For greener pasture, they never reach. And all these factors really has to go with education. And Dr. Gret said something very important. It has to be relevant. Education must be relevant and must be timely. If we are waiting to educate people, they'll never move. Because waiting that time, that window of time lost is a window of opportunity that could have been used. So I'm saying that really where I come from, which is Africa, is extremely, extremely affected. And I'm not surprised. Our governance are not good. And I said it, I will continue to say it until we take education as a priority and we educate our youths, our children. And I will just stop at that because there is a lot to say. And I'm sure all of you who know Africa knows a lot about what our problem is today. Everything is there. We should have been the richest.
And Kumba, it's not only in Africa. Kumba, it's not only in Africa, as you know, it's systemic around the world. So,
Yeah,
it used to be
exactly.
that
I
the
agree.
educational system in the United States was considered for college and universities the best in the world. Okay. It may not,
Mhm.
it may not be the case any longer. And we're going to get into this much more detailed as we go through the other programs. So,
Finally, I just want to say that we have to see the world as a globe. It's a circle. What
Mhm.
affects one part of the world, like you rightly said, will affect the other part.
Yeah.
I saw Dr. Grace, is it video on the education? And I see it as something that's applied to everywhere. You'll always be getting immigrants in America. They cannot communicate. And why not where they come from? We start from there, giving them the basic education. They will always come because our governance are not good on asylum, on whatever form. And with the drudgery that America is handling now can be reduced if we address and target them from their origin.
Mhm.
well, and we give them the social system where they feel more connected to each other,
Yes.
the community, and the world, then there's no reason for them to go other places because they'll work on what they need to work on where
Yes.
they are because they have a love of their family, their country, and its part in the world as one planet, one people, which we'll get into. Okay, can we move to the next question? Is that all right?
Sure, I think we're okay. The next question, it's a two-part question. In youth development, first, how important is it to provide youth with a lifelong program
Oh,
that helps them develop and maintain, you don't want me to go on, quality relationships
we missed
and,
question 2.
oh, you're right, I did miss question 2.
And that's okay. That's
Okay.
okay.
Okay, well, question 2, knowing the impact that planned acts of kindness can have in the development of both children and adults, what can you do to bring the EQL program and the Karma Club into schools in the United States or the world? You're right, that's more important right now.
Okay, and before we get to your answers, let me just refresh, right, the Karma Club, because this is not only for our panel discussion, it's for people who are going to be viewing this over the next months and months and months and months and months.
Mhm.
So, the Karma Club really forms the foundation of planned acts of kindness. And it's a global social responsibility platform where every day you wake up and there's a new daily planned act of kindness that you can do with your friends, family, coworkers, and in your community. And the goal is to have, tens of millions of people in the United States, hundreds of millions of people around the world waking up and doing the same planned act of kindness on the same day and unleashing that much positive, powerful energy into the world. Because the keys to living happier, healthier lives, not how much money you make, not how many drugs you take, not how many toys, right, you have, but really the quality of your relationships and your sense of community. And that's what planned acts enhances in people. And what we did was we gamified the positive aspects of karma. So there are 4 different achievements that you do during the course of a month. You do your daily planned acts, you engage with other people about planned acts, you do volunteerism no matter where you are in the world through our programs, and you do support. And when you do these to a certain level, then you're eligible for free gifts that we give away. And our goal is by the end of 2021 to be giving away hundreds of gifts every day to random people in the Karma Club who have leveled up. Okay. And like I was talking about before, the Karma Club works with 5 groups of people, 5 types of organizations, right? And the 4 pillars of the One Planet, One People movement: civility, social responsibility, volunteerism and global citizenship, and the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So goal number 1 is to be in all countries by the end of 2021 with our programs, where you have people taking individual personal responsibility for their behavior. And at the same time, enhancing their relationships and their ties to community. And the community is local, national, and global. The second goal of the Karma Club is to be able to get these people together in a moment's notice, acting on a common cause with a common purpose, so that we can go ahead and address these global social issues, especially the tipping point issues like climate change, pollution, pandemics, even war, terrorism, okay, overpopulation. These are things that the tipping points are not 20, 30 years from now. They are this decade. And if we don't stop using a fractional approach, like we did with the pandemic, quality of life on this planet is going to be tremendously different at the turn of the decade for billions of people. And that's going to be all over the world. So the thing is, it used to be in the United States, we would have these storms of the century. That meant that a storm came through every 100 years. A few decades ago, they started coming through with a little bit more frequency.
Yeah.
And last year, for the first time, we had 2 hurricanes come through the Gulf of Mexico on the same day.
Okay.
The year before that, I took a screenshot of hurricanes around the world that were occurring at the same time. 7 of them. Never before in history had that happened. So the thing is, we can go ahead and in our small corner of the globe, solve some type of social issue. And that's really wonderful. But what happens if climate change comes through and then wipes out your community? Everything you've done, everything you've built up for years is going to come undone. Just like when Superstorm Sandy came through the United States on the East Coast, and then, and in New York City, New York area, there were places that were so devastated that years later, they weren't even rebuilt. People were still working on rebuilding their homes. And so what does that do to the family? What does that do to their stress, their anxiousness, right? Their mental health, okay, their financial health? What does it do to the businesses in that community? What does it do to affect, right, the government, right, people's education? It's all connected. And we have to start seeing that. We have to start acting on that. And that's what planned acts of kindness and the Karma Club are designed to go ahead and do, to get people together so that they can go ahead and work on stopping the tipping points, stopping social injustice, economic injustice, all these issues that affect quality of life for billions of people. Okay,
So
now it's time for your question, Jackie.
now the question back to you is, since you see the value of the Karma Club, excuse me, how is it that you might be able to incorporate this into what you're doing in your part of the world? Stephanie, what do you think?
Well, first of all, I'd really like to thank Lyle and Jackie for organizing this, because I think this is so critical, and I am so excited to be here and share what I have learned over 40 years as a crime and violence prevention consultant. We have communities where you are looking at cities that are being destroyed by young people who are so angry and so misguided. And I love the fact that we're talking about how to bring the community together and how to help people improve their relationships and connections. One of the things that I have been doing for many years is adopt a block. I think that's a great place to start. People really want to know their neighbors. However, we've had isolation here for a year. And I agree with, I think it was Greg that said, suicide and all kinds of problems have been going on with young people today because they've been socially isolated. So I see part of our mission as a whole as bringing the community together and helping them restore those connections, because I have seen this in high crime neighborhoods where people are shooting each other. And we brought the communities together, and it reduced violence dramatically. So these connections are critical in order for young people to grow up feeling secure and socially connected, because there's a check and balance on child abuse and neglect. There's a check and balance when neighbors know each other, of taking responsibility for their own neighborhood safety, to stop drug abuse, to stop gangs, to connect with each other, to do a whole lot of amazing things that isolated people can't possibly do. They get very frustrated when they're isolated. And I've even seen people become paranoid, become sick. If we want to see a healthy society, it's critical that we do what you're talking about, Lyle, and get people connected. So one of the things that we did was write this small book. It's called My First Steps to a Safe Neighborhood. And it's just a pamphlet. And it's very easy to get people to connect with each other if you give them some help. How do I do this? What 3 questions can I ask people? And how should I behave? Because people right now are fearful. They've backed off because they have assumed the police will make them safe or keep them safe. And that's how we got out of balance in the community. The community backed off and the police grew stronger. And now you see the ramifications of that kind of behavior. So this has got to stop. This has got to change. And this is the Adopt a Block guidebook that we wrote for, see if you can see that. And that is for anybody that wants to take a leadership role. Okay, here's what I need to know. Here's the step 1 I need to take. And here's how I meet people and start this ball rolling.
And that's great, Stephanie. So thank you very much for that. And what you're doing is incredibly invaluable because, any life lost, is devastating to so many people, additionally. And that's what, our programs are really also designed to go ahead and mitigate. And what we can do is we can go ahead and, you can, when you have your books and you're giving them out, you can't see this really too well, but we can add stickers on there with that have, our information. We can add an insert in there about Planned Acts of Kindness and the Karma Club. And what's great also is that the program does recognition and rewards, and it can be taken to a higher level where we can actually do events around communities to bring up people, put them on stage, recognize them, right? And maybe for the first time in their life, they're going ahead and, being praised for who they are as opposed to put down for something that they do. I'll give you an example of a tangible thing. One of our interns who's been with us now for 10 months is pre-med, and he has a speech impediment. And when he first started in our program, our internship mentorship program, he said to me, is it all right when I go on to our Zoom meetings where I just keep my picture up and I don't speak because I really am, embarrassed because of my speech impediment? And I said, yes. But then I continued to talk to him about how important it was for him to go ahead and not think of that as a handicap and a liability and a disability, because it's not how he says it, it's what he says that's important.
Mhm.
And over time, he changed his attitude. He was willing to learn. And today, he's the first person to raise his hand on video. He's the first person to speak, and you can't shut him up.
Yeah, he's amazing. He really is. He's brilliant.
And I just wrote his letter of recommendation for med school.
Yeah, he's
Okay,
doing well.
and he's been a valuable contributor to the organization, and he does leadership and management and leadership roles now. So the thing is that by going ahead and giving them the proper system and the proper forum, they can really go ahead and change, through their behavior. And we're always supporting, right, positive behavioral change. Okay.
Yeah.
So absolutely, we will connect on how we can go ahead and move it forward.
That'd be
And,
good.
also things work vice versa. So your program's wonderful, how we're going to incorporate that into what we do also. So thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you. Next.
Anyone else seeing how we can apply this to what you're doing?
Well,
May
oh,
I
yeah.
add something,
Sure.
Jackie?
Sure.
Oh, I just want to add, there are 350,000 churches in America. And what if you got each church to just talk to their congregation about reaching out into their community and helping to bring the neighbors together? Love thy neighbor is one of the tenets of the church. So it seems like an obvious place to start too.
To start.
And with that, before COVID-19, I was supposed to speak at a conference of 109 churches called the Excel Conference through the Wesleyan Church, because the Wesleyan Church was going to do a book, our book, 16 Things We All Can Do to Act Right and Help Save the Planet, Community Relations Special Edition through the Wesleyan Church, where we addressed everything from domestic violence, substance abuse,
Churches would be good.
like gun violence, economic inequality, education in the book. And we'll get to that, right? But unfortunately, the conference was canceled, and the church still, we're in New York, hasn't opened up, completely. They're doing Zoom meetings. So we will get back to that, and absolutely 100%. So if any of you have any connections with faith-based or NPO, NGOs, governments, or whatever, these are programs that are designed to go ahead and help them achieve, right, their objectives in conjunction with our program. So absolutely.
Well,
Greg,
yeah,
you were
I
going to
do
say
have,
something? Oh,
Greg.
Yvonne. Okay. Go ahead, Yvonne. I just thought it was great.
Oh, okay. I was just going to piggyback on what Stephanie had said, because I'm connected to the CME churches, and we're building, we're going to talk about a little bit later, but we're building a lot of 146 schools in Africa. But definitely, and they have this is their presence. This is their headquarters here in the States. And we definitely would love to take that book that she has, as well as it was already my intention to bring all of your different programs, to the schools that we're building there, and those types of things that the PAC is doing can be done over, it can be done online, as well as in person. And what they are looking, one of the things that a lot of the churches are dealing with, I just had a conference with the bishops, and they said, and that is, with the pandemic, it kind of pushed everybody out away from going to the churches. And then the young children, you always, have an issue with getting them to go to church or to be a part of the church or, activities. So something like this, from K through 12, young through old children, would be able to, get them involved hands-on. And it's something that they feel it can be their own. Some certain things that we do and certain things that, we have to be done, children look at it as it's an adult type thing to do. And that's what the adults do, and the adults are going to do it. And so they don't really get involved with it. But when you give something to them and now there's a cause and a reward, and I can do these things like this, I think they would be I know they will be very receptive to that, as well as definitely to Stephanie's programs that she had with the Love Thy Neighbor.
Yeah.
And I'm also connected with the Lutheran churches as well.
Cool. That's great.
That's absolutely great. Thank you. And, you know, with the churches, one of the things is that, you know, there's falling membership in churches, you know, for a variety of reasons. And when I was talking to church leaders, we were talking about how instead of having people come into the church, what are some of the ways we can go connect with people where the people are?
Right.
You're really bringing the church to the people. And the way that you can do that is through PAC programs, One Planet, One People programs. So that's why the church wanted to go ahead and sponsor the book, because, right, it gets their issues and solutions out to a wider audience than just the church. But inside the book, as you'll see, right, it has a forward by a church leader. It has a chapter on their mission, their vision, what they want for people. And then if there are any programs that are coming up, it has program pages in the book as well. Okay.
Perfect.
So it's a great way for them to go ahead and get the education that they need on community issues that the church wants to address. Okay, so absolutely, we'll talk more about that. And I think Dr. Greg?
I was
Just
going
want
to
to
say
add
that,
on,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to add on Stephanie's that we're targeting the churches, but we also need to start thinking, and that's what PAC is doing. That's what we're doing with PAC, looking into the faith-based organizations, because in most places in America, they have what they call the Christian Muslim Coalition. And in most communities, you have, like, if you take Detroit or Michigan here, you have a lot of Muslim communities. And those can be potential targets as well in all ways. We all know what Detroit is and how it affects them, but there is a strong group here, which is the Christian Muslim coalition that PAC is trying to identify and work with. So Stephanie could also start
That'd be good.
in that.
Good.
Yeah, that'd be
Great.
great. We can see this expanding all over the place. Now, Dr. Gregory Spencer, would you like to say something, sir?
Well, I appreciate the comments, and this is where Footsteps of Brilliance can step up, because as some of you know, I created a $120 million equity grant with our bilingual literacy program for birth through third graders, parent engagement, community outreach. So we have two versions, one for schools and school districts and counties and states, a licensed version, but the other version that I've been really honing in on for a conversation like this is our version that we would provide at zero cost to churches and organizations that are just trying to get this out and put literacy in the hands of families and so forth. And then for the older kids, middle, high school adults, we have created a literacy ambassador program. So Lyle and others, this is where older kids and adults can be a mentor to younger children and teach them through our program how to read and engage, and not only just literacy, but reading, writing, math, STEM, physical science. It's all culturally relevant. And so that is something that I'm excited to be able to participate with PAC on as well. And because of that, it really starts to engage families to the point that was made earlier, where they are, whether they are virtual, hybrid, in person, it doesn't matter, because the way we've designed our platform via an app, or you can access it live on the internet, and you can do it online or offline. So, and the last point is from an equity standpoint, for those families that may not have access to internet for whatever reason, 98% of everyone on the planet today does have at least a smart device, at least here in the States. And so we're able to provide our program through that vehicle as well. So I'm willing and more than excited to be a part of that, to add that piece of the puzzle to the solution.
And let's switch it around. How are you going to go ahead and bring Planned Acts of Kindness and the Karma Club to your worldwide audience?
So what we would do then is see how we can help communicate, because we are really focused on making sure that we're providing a wellness solution, not just literacy to communities. And so that's what this is all about, planned act of kindness. And that's why I'm excited about this conversation.
Well, one of the programs that we have is called Host and Post, where organizations can take our API code and it will automatically put the daily planned act of kindness on their website. And extending further than that is we have a program where we want kids and adults to go ahead and then make a little video or a talk about that daily planned act of kindness. Of course, if they're youth, they can do it with their parents together on their cell phone and then put that on social media. And we can both share, you can create a gallery of these, we can create a gallery of these, which then tie back to Footsteps to Brilliance. And we can have youth all over the world saying planned acts of kindness as they come up on a daily basis. Okay, making that type of impact in the world. And I'll get into a little bit more about the video connection in, I think, the next segment. So that's absolutely great. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have we done enough on this? Any other comments of where we would like to incorporate it? Yvonne's going to help with the churches. Stephanie's going to help with the neighborhoods. Greg is going to help with the schools themselves, and maybe just a daily one of both Footsteps and Karma Club. I mean, what a nice hand in glove that would be. And Kumba's going to listen to see how she can put all of that into the schools in Africa. Any contributions, Susan, before we move on?
As you know, Jackie, Global Women's Peace Network is, a high focused professional women's organization, and we can definitely make them aware and see where they can contribute to that model. And the end of this month, we'll be meeting collectively in Arizona to see what projects we're going to adopt. And so that would be a great place to start. Yeah. So, and it's definitely backed up by a very large international organization that is faith-based. So Women's Federation for World Peace, which is millions and millions and millions of people. So, once it gets introduced, and then see how fast it gets fired up across the world.
Absolutely. Yeah. That sounds great.
That'd be wonderful. Yeah, it looks like all kinds of wonderful things. Now, are we ready to go on to the next topic, Sir Lyle?
Yes. So the next topic we're going to talk about, thank you, Jackie, and thank you everyone for sharing, right? And we're going to be working on the collaboration aspect with all of you, right, as we go through these things. But what we're going to talk about next is the One Planet, One People Club program in greater detail, and the social and skill development side that provides quality of life for all. So I'm going to go ahead and share screen again, and I'm going to run through these very quickly. Okay, but these are some of the engagement tools that we utilize for the One Planet, One People Club. So we invite people to be part of the solution. We want you to help make a difference, from pandemics to policy, right? With the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. This actually goes out a lot of time to schools for their students. And what we say is all interests, all talent, all backgrounds welcome, with the 4 pillars of One Planet, One People. And we have volunteer, intern, right? Occupational, training, career opportunities through our programs, and together we can do it. So we invite people to go ahead and be the hero, okay, and come into our program. We share background information, and then with the One Planet, One People program and planned acts of kindness, we have the internship volunteer track, and it's also dealing with career track management skills for later on in life. So again, the focus is on quality of life through our pillars, and we have we just went through and redid our field development, our major development, we have over 30 different majors that we accept students in from around the country and internationally. And this is just a smaller, the categories under which there are a lot of different fields. And when they come into the club program, they have the opportunity to go ahead and work on our clubs, our books, our courses, our programs, our events, even game development. And again, we do this, right, to benefit and to engage and, right, our 5 groups of people with our 5 types of institutions. So we teach them, right, we're going to do outreach, engagement, inspiration for education and action to achieve objectives. And we work from the grassroots up and the top down. So we're at the tipping point for humanity, and this decade will determine quality of life for billions. Like we said before, we got to stop using the fractional approach. It doesn't work, and it won't work in the future. Okay, so all of our programs are fully in alignment with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And this is just a graph that shows, you know, the programs that we have and what they can cover. And governing what we do is actually a karma constitution. Okay, so we, the children of the world, unite under one planet, one people, in order to preserve, protect, nurture, and grow the health of our planet and our global community, and do ordain and establish this karma constitution for quality of life for all. This is on our app, which I encourage you to go ahead and get on your phones, and you can go through our programs. And one of the things that we talk to the students about is how they can become really a global peace ambassador. And I'll get into that more in a little bit. But the thing is, we want them to get involved. So through the club program and through other programs that we have, they're going to create messages, talks, videos, graphics for social media, right? For our app, for other things, for conferences like this. They're going to post it in a world video map that's available on our website and in our app. And they can do things individually, but they are encouraged to build a dream team in order to engage schools, nonprofits, businesses, and governments. So what we do in the club is we invite people in based on their interests, whether it's art, music, dance, sports, whatever, to take that interest and then use it to outreach and engage and inspire other people. So one of the things that we do is we ask people to take the kindness, civility pledge and pass it on. And they can do this in whatever language they speak. So I hereby make a pact to treat others with respect and kindness, and to go through life from this day forward, acting towards others as I would wish to be treated myself. And this is Angshi in New Delhi, India, for plannedacts.org. It literally takes 10 seconds to do that. And in the world video map, we post these. And again, our goal by the end of this year is to have people in every country speaking every language on our world video map. And then people can go in, they can drill down by continent, by country. They can listen to people speaking Japanese, speaking Portuguese, speaking Russian, speaking whatever language around the world. And we're all saying the same thing. So it doesn't matter what our nationality is. It doesn't matter what language we're speaking. We have one planet. We've got one people on the planet. And this is, right, our demonstration of that. And they can also do additional videos. And these are available for adults also, and they'll be available as, through, like we said, through the institutions for the top down. Okay, so people can go ahead and record on their phone a very quick, what does civility mean to me? If they lost a loved one due to COVID-19, share what that loved one meant to the world. Share a story of kindness, what someone did for you that really meant a lot. The reason why I'm doing all of this right? The roots of it were because I had a difficult life when I was growing up, a difficult childhood at home. And I started working when I was 11 years old, and I met people through work, not even people I was working for. I met people in the same block, in the same neighborhood, actually in New York City, where some people took an interest in me and they would talk to me and they would listen, and it made a huge impact on me. And this happened with parents of friends. This happened with teachers in school, because unfortunately my situation didn't end when I was young. But I knew I couldn't repay those people directly. So I wanted to do something in my life to help other people. So I decided I would go to law school, become a lawyer, right, and help other people. And unfortunately, when I went to law school, I found out it wasn't about that. It wasn't set up really for that. Okay, it was set up for really, right, finances. It was set up adversarial, not about helping people. And so I did my internship I grew up in Florida after, for most of my childhood. And I went to University of Florida for my undergraduate and then for law school. And I did my internship with the Attorney General's office in Albany, New York, in the Litigation Bureau, writing memorandums of law on public health and other issues. And they liked what I did. They offered me a job. And I said, thank you, I'm flattered, but no thank you. Because I felt like I was a hired gun. I felt just because I was paid to do something and I can do it fairly well, that didn't make it right, when I knew that there were other ways to go ahead and address these issues and handle them with better outcomes that would be less expensive for the parties involved. So I left the profession. And I did other things in order to go ahead and give back, including like a national magazine on relationship, best-selling game on relationships, and some other things. And planned acts and the programs are, right, my attempt to go ahead and repay the people who made a difference in my life. So the thing is that you never know who one of our programs is going to touch, who it's going to resonate with, not only youth, but also adults, where they can become a part of something and then be the inspiration so that they can go ahead and take action that's going to change the world. So that's why we do what we do. That's why we create the programs. That's why we share, so that we give everyone the hope that they can go ahead and have an impact. But it's more than the hope. It's the tangible programs and systems where we help make it happen for them. Okay, so when they do these things, there are even contests that they can do. And they can go ahead and be the hero in many different ways. And of course, right, we have our global citizenship program. Sirem goes into all of these different issues: civility, social responsibility, volunteerism, and global citizenship. And this is what we also teach in the courses. So in line with what we were talking about before, Greg was talking about the ambassadorships. Okay, we have our ambassador program, and Kumba is our ambassador to Africa, and she's in charge of getting other ambassadors set up in the 55 countries. We have other ambassadors for other continents as well. And the ambassadors work on bringing our programs into the 5 types of institutions to benefit the 5 groups of people. And what we're doing is setting up 4 peace laureates in every country, 2 youth, 2 adult, who are also on the ground engaging with the institutions in order to make things happen. But with the club program, they'll have literally thousands and hopefully tens of thousands of people going through the program over the years, because it's a sustainable program. You don't go in for, a week and then go out. This can follow you throughout your life, giving you the foundation to go ahead and continue to build quality relationships and stronger communities. So there, and again, everything is governed by our 5x5, collaboration between groups of people and types of institutions. So like we said, okay, one of the things that we do is we have fun action programs that people can do, and we're gonna have contests every month. We're putting people through our One Planet, One People Club program this month in a larger capacity. So in our first meeting, we had, I believe 20 people attend. The next meeting, we had 41 people attend. Our goal for next Saturday's meeting is 61 or more. And by the end of the month, by May 1st, we want 150 people participating in, the inaugural One Planet, One People Club program. Okay, but every country can have multiple clubs, in different areas and different institutions, okay, that are operating in concert also together, because they're not just isolated. So one of the things is, how many people can you get to take the Kindness Civility Pledge in 30 days? How many different countries can you get people to go ahead and take the Kindness Civility Pledge? And then we're going to do, each month, we're going to do recognition and rewards for people who are at the top of the leaderboards. And this is starting in May. Okay.
So I guess it'd be logical to ask the question of them, how important do you feel in the lifelong learning of the youth that they communicate with the people of other countries around the world?
In today's society, it's critically important. And really, the youth are already doing exactly that. They're communicating across all different platforms. And what this does is this actually, it just doesn't, right now they're kind of doing a spaghetti on the wall communication and just kind of saying whatever, following whatever. And so something like this would actually give them more of a purpose, and a purpose that not only works for today, but a purpose that sets them up the foundation for tomorrow. So I think it's critically important.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're the ones that've got the thoughts that could be anywhere out there. They're not here. There's no end, those that are working on it. Yeah. Susan, were you going to say something? You look like you were, but your thing was still on mute.
Actually, global education is imperative for young people to prepare for their own futures, to be able to communicate outside of their own cultural area, and to move into understanding how the world works is a positive, necessary thing in order for them to prepare for their own careers. And while it's valuable for them, while they're learning important values and important ways of being and connecting to each other, it also helps prepare them for their own success.
And with that, Susan, is the internship and mentorship program that's built into the club. So in other words, it exists for volunteers, but for people who want to go ahead and be on that career track, we have, like I said, over 30 different disciplines that we pull people in, and we give them real world experience, but we add in 8 foundation skills. So we add in, for everything that they do, whether it's graphic design, whether it's IT, whether it's a business, they need to know communication, business, marketing. They need to know the objectives of the organization that they're working for and how their work is going to further those objectives. They need to know how to do office technology, research, problem solving, and time management. So when we go ahead and teach, we don't go ahead and give task lists. That's how schools are done, whether you're in, secondary education, whether you're in college. The thing is, your work, you go ahead and fulfill the assignment, you turn it in, you get a grade. But what's really interesting is all the work you do in college, none of it has any real world connection. None of it, zero. And matter of fact, you're not even learning what's going on in the real world in your profession. And we're asked to go ahead and make our choices on our careers, while we're, 2 years into our undergraduate general studies, and we don't even know what is entailed in that profession. So 3 to 5 years after people graduate, 75% of the people who go through the US program are in a different industry, than a different major than what they studied. And I'm one of those 75%. Okay, I went to law school before I really knew about the profession. I got into the profession and I was like, holy, this is not what I want to be doing. So the thing is that our programs bridge the gap between what you learn theoretically in school and the practical aspects of what you're doing in the real world. The difference is that all the work that we have them do is designed for social responsibility issues, to solve global social responsibility issues. There is no busy work. One of the complaints I hear from people who have gone through other internship programs is that, they go in and they're taught something, they're shown how to do something, and they do it for a week, and then they say, okay, you know how to do this, and then that's what they do for the rest of their internship. And there's no growth that takes place. So in our programs, we teach our interns, we mentor our interns on how to achieve objectives. And we don't tell them, okay, how to state what those objectives are. They have to go ahead and state what those objectives are. They have to come up with task lists and ways to achieve those objectives through research, through analysis, through synthesis, through creative and critical thinking, as well as problem solving and time management. Because what you go ahead and do in terms of your assignments in school has no bearing on the time frame that you're going to do things in the real world. So this is what we teach in our mentorship program, and this is what they can come into the clubs and gain. And the learning takes place not from turning in an assignment, getting a grade and a few comments. The learning takes place in the different iterations of what they have to do to get it up to our level of professionalism, where it can be shown to C-suite people, to founders of organizations like yourselves, to governments. Okay, so we do it not for the 80-90% who's going to look at something and say, oh yeah, that's good, because they're not applying any critical thinking to it. We do it to your level so that when you look at something, literally in 10 seconds, you know, right, how viable it is, how professional it is. And you're making the determination whether you want to be associated with the organization that puts that out. That's what we teach them, not to be workers, but to be management and leaders, because that's what the world is going to need, like Yvonne said earlier. The problems that we have, our youth, right, did nothing to create. But they're going to be the ones who are going to be living through it, and they're going to have to work on the solutions, because we might not be around, unfortunately, for a variety of reasons. Okay, so we got to give them a different skill set to tackle these problems, and that's what our program does. We teach them how to go ahead and think differently. I'll add that word in. Sorry.
Okay, Lyle, we have 5 minutes left.
Oh, wait. Can we, let's go ahead and ask Jackie, right? Whoever can stay for longer, right? I know that, we originally set up for an hour and a half. We got started just a couple minutes late, but this is going really well. And I have no problem at all, right, if we extend it for another half an hour for those who can stay. So,
You're okay, Yvonne? Okay. Stephanie?
Mhm.
Okay. Kumba?
Yeah.
okay, great.
Susan, you're okay?
I'm sorry, I have to go. I have a classroom waiting for me to give
Oh.
them a lecture, so.
Okay, we
That'd be a
understand
little
that.
hard.
We understand that. So we thank you very much, for sharing today, and we'll be in touch
Thank you.
very soon. And of course, the video will be made available through the app. Okay. And, we'll continue on with the great work that you're doing.
Yeah, thank
Take
you
care.
so much, Susan. And you're okay, Greg?
I have another call at the bottom of the hour as well. So I have a few more minutes left.
Okay,
Okay.
great. So let me just really quickly share this last little point about, what they also learn is the corporate structure, because when they go into companies, they really don't know how to go ahead and fully engage with coworkers, with management, right, with shareholders and stockholders. So even through the club program, they have the opportunity to move up based upon, right, their desire, their determination, what they want to learn. So they can go ahead and really not just learn project management, right, but also be part of executive management as well. Okay. And we have lots of great materials in terms of how this is run. Okay, Jackie, if you can ask the second part of the question, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Well, the second part of that question is on an institutional level with schools and faith-based organization, nonprofits, governments, and businesses, what can you do to bring One Planet and People clubs into fruition? But they've already spoken of that, Lyle, so that they've already said what they can do to that. So I kind of think that's a bit redundant. But
Okay.
the 16 Things books is the next topic.
Yeah,
So,
the clubs are a little bit different than the EQL program.
okay.
So we talked about that in conjunction with the EQL program, which was an earlier. Okay. This is specifically about the clubs. This is a larger system that can go into, right, institutions. Okay. It's a much more formal, much more developed program. Okay. And it can work in conjunction with even governments and everything else. So if you want to address
Lyle, quick question. Is your thought that this club, it has a curriculum base to it?
There is also a curriculum base to it as well. Yes.
Okay.
But it's an internship.
The reason I was asking that.
So it's not formal. It's not formal like schools. That's not how it works.
Right.
It's
right.
program by program.
No. I was just, okay. Yeah, I was just asking, did it have that?
Oh, yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
also in those 146, well, the schools are going to be there, but we're also building 146 space centers. And so those are going to be doing the STEM education. And I would love to put this in, to that, because also that's one of the areas that's the hardest to teach when you're talking about teaching children, young people, old people, about going out into space and the colonization of space and the civility. We got to somehow, we didn't think about that, how it is with engineers. We just think about it, let's put the building together, let's put the ship together, but now we got to think about how we're going to treat each other when we get there.
And even beyond that, Yvonne, is that what we teach the students who are coming in, because they don't understand this, if they're the best programmer, sorry, Greg, you're missing this part, right? But we'll catch up with you. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
If you're the best programmer in a company, that makes you a technician. You're a worker. Okay. And workers, right, they don't promote into management and leadership roles people who are just workers. Okay. The people who get promoted are the ones who have the communication skills, who understand the objectives of the organization, who can work with coworkers, management, right, shareholders, stakeholders.
Right.
EQ. Yeah.
Right. That's what we go ahead and teach them in addition to the skills. That's what's lacking from their formal education. Okay. So we're providing something that's way beyond that, okay? And it's not the skill training, right, that is going to be tremendously, well, important to their career. Warren Buffett in 2019 came out and said, if you want to increase your earnings by 50% over your career, the number one skill that you have to have is communication.
Is communication.
So this is what we go ahead and teach as number one skill out of the 8 foundation skills. And we're also developing a certification-based program so that it can go into companies and organizations and provide that training to their workers so that they have the foundation to go ahead and, well, for the company and the organization to do their work better. But for the people who go through the program,
Right.
it's really a quality of life, you know, program. Okay. So thank you. Ding. Is that a church?
Okay, so would you like to go on to the 16 Things book?
Sure. Well, yeah.
Lyle?
Well, yeah.
I
and
think
that's the
this
last,
would be,
and that's the last topic that we're going to go ahead and cover in terms of, you know, the questions. And, you know, we talked about before that we have the ability to go ahead and provide education in action programs through a variety of different mechanisms. And one of those is our book series, 16 Things We All Can Do to Act Right and Help Save the Planet. And we can go ahead and create custom books to address any issue that an organization wishes to address. So before COVID-19, I was talking to the sustainability program director for Pfizer Pharmaceuticals about what their objectives were. Where did they want to go ahead and reach out and make a difference? And what he said was, we need to go ahead and put together something that's going to educate our people all over the world with how they can go ahead and engage in communities through better safety. And from that, we talked about doing a book that would feature 16 actionable things that their people all over the world could do in order to go ahead and stay safe and engage communities. And each issue would be addressed by 2 experts that say why we need to solve this problem and what we need to do to solve it. So the books are expert reference books on whatever subject. Like I said before, the Wesleyan Church was going to have us do a book on, you know, community issues from a family's perspective. I can show you a cover for that. And the thing is that the books form the basis of workshops called One Planet, One People workshops, where people have the book, they get together, whether it's on Zoom or personally, and they read out loud the problem scenario, how we normally handle that, and then what the 2 experts say, why we got to solve it and what we need to do to solve it. And then they have a discussion group about that issue. And because our programs are based on the formula E plus A equals O, education plus action equals objectives, they go ahead and they can form smaller groups to go ahead and address that on a local, national, or global scale. While they're doing this, what they're actually doing also, the other benefits are they're building closer relationships with people in the group through these discussions. They're building stronger communities. And because our programs also have recognition and rewards, we can go ahead and, based on what they achieve through their safety programs, recognize and reward them on whatever cycle the organization wants, whether it's a 30, 60, 90-day cycle, a half-year cycle, an annual cycle. And it could be, right, small ways, gift cards, larger ways through events and galas, depending on how they want to go ahead and do it. And we also have the ability to create a custom app for the organization where we feature, in this particular case, the 16 different safety protocols that they have to follow, where they can go ahead and record what they're doing on a daily basis, where it automatically says, right, this is the frequency that they can do these things during the month. And then it tabulates that, puts them into a leaderboard where they can go ahead and get that recognition while generating reports to the organization as
What
well.
they did.
So
Quick,
it's
quick question,
quantifiable.
Lyle, and then I'm gonna have to, quick question, and I'm gonna have to go.
Okay.
The 16 things, these are the things that are specific to that community. Like I have the medical profession community, so it would be 16 things specific to their communities.
Well, it's
And then the same thing with the church.
it works any way you want it to work as the organizational sponsor for the book. So in other words, it can be for the medical community, or it could be for the medical community reaching out to the general public and what they want the general public to know.
Right. No, I wasn't asking what it should be. I
Yeah.
said the 16 things is what they want to address.
Yes. So in other
Correct.
words, right. In that
Okay.
particular case, it's each
Okay.
one saying what they think is an important issue and what needs to be done to solve that issue. Now with Pfizer, it's a different story. We have those things that are set, and the experts are addressing each one specifically. So it's a different
Right. But
it's the same-
Pfizer came up. Okay, my question is this. Pfizer came up with the 16 things, yes or no?
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's either
Okay.
Pfizer comes up.
Okay, that's all. Yeah.
Yeah. We're not giving them
That's
to
all
you.
I said was,
Jackie, that's incorrect.
yeah, that's what I was,
Jackie.
Jackie got it. That was
No.
my question. Who was leading,
Hold on.
leading it? So they're
Yvonne.
leading the 16 things
Yvonne,
and they get the experts.
okay, no. That's not always correct. Okay, that's one example. See, let me get this really clear. This works multiple ways depending on how the organization wants it to work. So with Pfizer, okay, they can go ahead and develop their protocol list, or they can say, right, we want you to go ahead and come up with a list. We have a list. We'll merge whatever we think is appropriate, and then we'll produce the
Got
book.
it.
So it works
Got it.
multiple different ways, Jackie.
Well,
Right?
okay.
There's not one.
Well,
Okay,
what's,
that works.
yeah, she means it's not us as PAC is deciding those. No. It is the instigator of the book who is deciding what's going to happen. So I think that's what
Well,
she
okay,
means.
but let me
We're
clarify
not
that
telling
again.
them
No,
what to
Let
do.
me clarify that again. Okay, because there are many topics where we provide, because we've done research into these fields and come up with a ranking system where the issue affects a large population in a significant way. We come
Yeah.
up with the 16 issues. We come
Okay,
up with
you
the
know what I'll
experts.
do? Okay, well, Lyle, what I'll do is this. They're working outside. So they're getting ready to cut the power on our
Oh, sure. Yeah,
building
yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah.
So I will send to you the information, and then we'll work out how the questions should come.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
Absolutely. And thank you, Yvonne.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much,
As
Yvonne.
we see, right, the books work
Thank
different
you,
ways.
Yvonne, and bye.
The
Yeah.
books work different ways for different objectives from different,
Right.
organizations, because they might want to just go ahead and be featured as the sponsoring organization, where they leave the content creation and the experts 100% up to us.
Yeah, they could do that as well, but I think she's just trying to say that they want to be able to have the say
Well,
on
for
what to
her
say.
thing, yes.
Yeah,
But Jackie, we're not talking just to her audience. We're talking to a much larger group. We
absolutely.
don't want them to go ahead and think that it's
Yes.
just one way.
Right.
All of our programs are completely customizable to go ahead and achieve, organizational objectives. So any way they want to go ahead and do it, we can go ahead and adapt and customize. And that's really the bottom line.
Right. And they could work in the neighborhood as well, by the way, Stephanie. If you stop and think about it, there are all kinds of things that you could do with a neighborhood concept, knowing 16 things that would, you'd have to limit yourself to 16, but not really. Don't
Yeah.
you think?
Absolutely. You know, I have a question here.
Sure.
I have had a call from New York about a month ago, and I am going to be hosting a radio show, national and international, on aaumedia.com. And I was thinking, as you've been talking, that I can put in a blurb at the bottom. I'm going to be interviewing people with solutions that have been involved in child sex trafficking, child abuse, gangs, all kinds of. But at the end, I can put in a note every week, if you like,
Sure.
about this project. And if you could send me something, Jackie, just a short paragraph, I can invite people to go to the website and check it out.
Perfect.
That would be
Perfect.
Very
That
good.
would be wonderful. Thank you very
That's
much. That would
that's
be
very
great.
good.
She's
Sure.
good at that. She does these weekly things. I don't know how she gets them all done, but she does a beautiful job.
Well,
That's great.
you know, that's great. And addressing the community issues, I wanted to show you, Stephanie, in particular, what we were going to be doing with Wesleyan Church. And, you know, our books can also go ahead and act as fundraisers for your organization. And we'll go ahead and share information with you about that, okay? Because there are
Okay.
different ways that that works also. With the Wesleyan Church, it was a big deal. We were talking about doing 100,000 books, where they get $5 per book. Okay. So it was raising money on a large scale, right, for the church. Okay. But this is what we were talking about. 16 things we all can do to act right and help save the planet. Wesleyan Church Special Edition, featuring solutions and action plans by 32 leading pastors to help strengthen families, the church, and the community. And then these are the issues that we're going into. So financial, you know, inequality, health, abuse, substance abuse, right? Environmental factors, gun violence, elderly care, and education.
Mhm.
Okay.
Great.
So an essential self-help guide for detailing problems and solutions to important issues that impact our health, happiness, success, and quality of life. Now, what happens is, right, they get branded on the cover, they get a chapter on, you know, on their mission and everything else. They have program guide, but also inside every book is how the people can set up their own one planet, one people workshops based on the content in the book.
Mhm.
Okay. And then for every expert that appears, we set up a scholarship in their name to give books and materials into whatever community they wanted to go. So in other words, you have communities all over.
Mhm.
So if in each of the community, there was a leader that wanted to go ahead and share something about, you know, what a problem is in the community and what needs to be done to solve that, they would get their picture in the book. Okay. You know, the
Okay.
books get circulated through these areas. Okay. And what it does for the organization that's the sponsor, it increases the branding, marketing, media, publicity, philanthropy, even their revenue. And it will feature 32 community leaders, okay, on community issues. They get their headshot, they get, you know, their email, so they get their social media listed. And then there's people who are guaranteed to attend the workshops to discuss, right, these issues and what they can do to help solve them in their community. And then this is, right, the media kit that goes into the benefits of the workshops. Okay, what people learn. Okay, you know, these are organizations that have supported us, how we're in the news, media outlets, right? And then, you know, an order form, right, for doing the book. So, you know, the books might be a tremendous way also. Okay, the pamphlet goes ahead and introduces, okay, the book, right, gives the real, you know, meat and potatoes, so to speak, right, on, you know, what can be done on an individual, you know, behavioral basis to, you know, solving these, but then also going ahead and bringing them into the 5 institutions, because everybody, you know, is part of some type of institution, whether, you know, whether it's current or in the past. and they always can have the opportunity to bring what we do and the work, you know, how it benefits people back into their organizations. Okay, so that will get you information on how that might work for you.
Okay. One thing I might suggest is breaking it up into small pieces, because people can only handle one topic at a time. It's a little overwhelming to have all of that information.
Yes.
And you go, where do I start? So,
Our kits are broken up into different sections, into different, you know, guides. So the book is separate from the club program. Okay. Only when you get into the club program, then you have the opportunity to go into your interests and learn what you want to learn about the different programs. But when we go to organizations, we go to whatever, we always tie what their objectives are with the program that we're presenting. We don't present everything like we did in this workshop where we went over the ties to education and social responsibility. This was an eclectic mix of things designed to go ahead and introduce audiences to what we're doing and, you know, your solutions and how we're going to go ahead and bring it to the world.
okay,
Absolutely.
good.
Absolutely, you're correct. So thank you.
So I think that we've had a very meaningful time together. I think that we all learned a lot, and I'm fascinated by the individual ways that we can work together, that can be combined as we noodle on them and figure out how to actually bring those more together. So I will be giving you a kind of a summary on what we said, and hopefully that will lead to sparking change, action, and change as our next steps. And I really appreciate Stephanie, you being here, and Kumba, of course, and all the others who had to leave. I think it's a great beginning, and I really look forward to what we can do to create one planet and one people. Thank you, Lyle, as well.
Well, I
And
thank you all for inviting me to be here, and love meeting everyone. And it's great that you guys are so committed and so passionate, because that's what it's going to take to make this work. And we'll see how we can help make it work for all of us. So
Yeah.
that's great. Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, great.
Thank you, Stephanie.
And thank you.
Yeah.
Kuba. I know that you haven't been feeling well, so we appreciate your smile. And we want to thank Jackie so much for pulling this together. As usual, right? She's a connector at the highest level that really goes ahead and makes things happen. So we appreciate her to no end. Okay.
Right.
And hopefully there'll be no end right to her, right to her as well.
Yeah.
And
As
you know,
I always say, Jackie is the engine of PAC. So we always appreciate what she does. She's never had, very
Sweetheart.
patient. And she is really a global connector.
Yeah.
But,
yes.
we
And
really appreciate her and appreciate what she's doing. Maybe she needs to open a class where she can teach people.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a thought, you
Like
know.
her.
I just assume everybody knows how to do this, but
we'll just mentor our interns, right?
yeah.
In the One Planet, One People Club,
Yeah,
right? And
Yes.
you know,
exactly.
you all, you know, when I talk to my interns also, I tell them when they come on these Zoom meetings, there's such a difference between on how they are performing today and where they need to be as leaders. And when they come into our professional, right, Zoom meetings with our professional success team and see people like Jackie, Stephanie, and Kumba, and Dr. Greg, and, you know, Susan and Yvonne, they will see such a difference between where they are, even as, you know, master's students, even as postgraduate, let alone undergraduates. This is what they should aspire to be, just like you all. And that's what we go ahead and mentor them in, so that they can be before they leave our program.
Yeah.
So,
Good.
you know, we thank you for being the role model. Okay. We thank you for being the inspiration that's going to make things happen. And, you know, we look forward to not only the rest of this year, but what we're going to do in the future in order to make quality of life a thing for everyone. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Great.
Good.
And thank you, Lyle, for leading us as well.
Yeah,
Thank you.
exactly.
Thank you.
Exactly.
So
Thanks.
we're going to
Stop.
talk again real soon.
Okay.
Jackie, I'll see you in just a little bit.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, we have another one coming up. Don't
Okay,
forget.
thank
It's at
you.
noon.
bye-bye.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Thank you all.